Hi there, trader. This is the Forex weekly video brought to you by Admiral Markets. My name is Chris, and today a focus on the impulsive euro dollar and dollar yen. Definitely moving a lot, and we're going to dive into those charts in just a second. First of all, be aware though that this video is shown to a global audience, but may not be suitable for everyone. Take a look at admiralmarketsglobal.com, select your country or residence, and contact the appropriate entity to find out more about that. Also, please be aware that trading for exchange and global financial markets is considered high risk and may not be suitable for everyone. Please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. This video is for educational and informational purposes only, and by continuing watching this video, you agree with this disclaimer and you're also aware of the risk involved when trading. Alright, let's start with the pound USD, the cable. Basically, in a bit of a triangle, we had a lot of price action up and down, in fact. Starting from about this point here, you can see that the price has been quite choppy, but a lot of momentum though as it's going up and down. Recently we had again a turn actually at this trend line, and price is now falling, and I wouldn't be surprised if price makes another bounce at the support level up to the resistance trend line. That's a trade that I'm looking at for the upcoming week. Now obviously there could be a break eventually, whether it's here or here or here or here. At some point this is going to break. But it might take a while. Who knows? This is already an established triangle, so that could still be a few bouncing spots until that happens. If it does break above resistance, I am considering the target here at 147 to be a normal target, a real target for the pound USD. There's also a long-term moving average there, so that will be the primary focus for the upside break. If price breaks the support trend line, I'm looking for actually price to retest this bottom. There could be some bounces at these fibs, 140, 139, and then the bottom 138.50. If that breaks, well then I'll start to fib it the other way around, and I'll put a fib from here to here, and I'll start to look for 137.50, which is the target, and perhaps even further to these levels. All right, so that's a bearish break scenario. Now, the chances of an upside, however, seem to be perhaps just a tad better. Yes, there is a downtrend, but there's also divergence between these bottoms here. So from that point of view, there could be a retracement, basically a bigger retracement up to the long-term moving average. Now, of course, if that support line breaks, then probably this was all the retracement that we would see, and there's a good chance of the downtrend indeed continuing. All right, before we take a look at the other currency pairs, we got a lot of webinars lined up this week. Excited about that. We have, of course, Nenet's weekly FX recap with his trade ideas. Tuesday, Wednesday, you'll see my trade ideas. And then we have 3 educational webinars, in fact. Tuesday, the 5th of April, and then Wednesday and Thursday, taking a look at new candlestick patterns, top 10 things you have to look at for trading plans, and also setting up professional analysis with discretionary eyes. So this is, I think, going to be a great week for you. Take a look at one of these webinars. Hope to see you in those. All right, moving on to the euro dollar. We did get the bounce at the 38.2 fib. It did take some time, but eventually happened, and price also broke above this resistance trend line right there. Those are trades that we did discuss, I think, last week, but definitely in the trading room on Tuesday and Wednesday. And price is getting close to that minus 272 target. So that's still the target of this week. If I look at the weekly candle, there's a strong weekly candle indicating that I think there's a good chance of breaking last week's high. So I think that price can still get to that target. I think that there could be a bit of a, depending on the open, of course, of this week, there could be a bit of retracement down to 113.30, 113, retrace about that candle halfway, and then bounce up to the target. If it breaks above this resistance level and the target, then there could be an acceleration actually up to the next confluence where there's a higher top and the 38.2 fib and the minus 61.8 target. So those are the 2 key zones of confluence right here, that resistance spot and the 272 target, and all of these fibs and the top. All right, so I'm expecting this type of movement for this week. Now, whether it breaks through the target, of course, I'm not sure, but it could, and then it might accelerate. Any of these zones, though, could also be a turning spot for downside. So I'm going to monitor how price responds when it gets up to here. If there's good engulfing daily twins, well, then there's probably a good chance of downside. If there's a doji here and 2 dojis and price starts to break above it, well, then there's a good chance price can get up to this target and probably turn at a higher spot. Now, if it breaks last week's low for whatever reason, there are news events, anything can happen, then that bullish, of course, scenario is out of the window, and this could be obviously still a very strong turning spot zone, and price can then start to retest this bottom right in here and challenge the 110 and 108 levels. So those are the scenarios I would say on the euro dollar. Moving on to the dollar yen, we got the opposite, a lot of bearish momentum going on, and I was indeed in the live webinar on Tuesday, Wednesday last week looking for a turnaround here. That did happen. We had momentum here, basically, of course, very strong. We had a contracting triangle and a break, pullback, and now it seems like we're getting a continuation. So we had a good potential for shorts here, also upon the break of that channel, basically, that you see right there, and price is now retesting the bottom. Now I'm in that trade at the moment, and I'm trying to get to the target, which I think I have aimed at around here. That's a conservative target. Price could actually break that bottom and continue lower. It could head towards, for instance, the minus 272 target at around 108. Okay, that's possible. But there is triple bottom, so price might also struggle with breaking that. For the moment, if price doesn't get down to the green line, a bit of a hook back, I think could still be interesting for potential downwards there. There was a triangle, of course, right here as well. And if price does get back there, I think that could be an interesting zone to look at about 112.25, perhaps 112, roughly speaking, for a turn back into that direction. We had already a clear channel break here and a bounce off that long-term trend line. Then we had a mini triangle after that. So I think that if it hooks back like that, it's an ideal setup for downside. I think for myself, I would be using a stop loss above this fractal, which is around 112.60 as far as I can see. So I think a stop loss above that should be an okay level to think about, and targeting probably, let me change this fib from here to here, or actually do it this way, targeting probably the 78.6 fib, if I can grab that, or let me just draw that again from here to here. 78.6 fib around 111.33 and 111. Those would be the targets downside. All right, moving on to the Aussie. We can see Aussie, very strong weekly candle as well. So I think that this momentum is still strong. Still upside is likely. And no divergence on the daily chart, but there is divergence on the 4-hour chart. So although the weekly is definitely showing good signs of continuation, and there could be actually a push still higher, we do have double divergence between these particular tops. Makes me a bit careful with this Aussie, and I think that at this moment either a retracement down to this trend line could be a good spot for upside, or if it gets to the 77.50 target, that could be actually a reversal trade potential right there. Wouldn't take a pending order, by the way. I would look for price action, candlestick patterns on the 4-hour daily chart at 77.50 to see if we do get a turnaround, which would probably be a triple divergence at that time. And that could be an interesting reversal setup that I will keep my eye on. If it doesn't get there, but first makes a retracement down, well, there could be still a bounce actually to get to that target, and then still that downside. Of course, if price keeps pushing, then the next target would be the 78.40 at the minus 61.8 target. So as you can see, definitely good bullish weekly candles on the AUDUSD and EURUSD, and I will basically expect upside. But with the Aussie, I'm definitely careful because of divergence, and there could be a reversal at 77.50. For the euro dollar, I think there's a good chance of price hitting 115 or 117, and those being turning spots. Pound could stay in the triangle, and the dollar yen, I think, looks good for a pullback, continue, and perhaps even a further continuation on this daily chart right down to 108, after perhaps, of course, pausing at 110. All right, so I hope to see you in the webinars. And make sure to take, of course, a look at social media and the Admiral Markets website for a lot of analysis, fundamental, technical, and wave. Hope to see you soon. Wish you good trading. Cheers.